Hello and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Saima Ijaz, joining you from Nanaimo, British Columbia, located on the beautiful and traditional territory of Nanaimo First Nations. Saad is the moderator, and you're welcome to send your questions to him related to the topic anytime during the presentation. Sensory issues are included in the diagnostic criteria of autism spectrum disorder, meaning that every child on the spectrum deals with these. Understanding what they are will lead you to the steps of managing your child's anxiety and restlessness and help keep them calm and engaged. Here's an overview of the topics that I'll be covering today. You'll learn what the sensory issues are and how they present in a child, what sort of professional help in terms of therapists, consultants, or interventions you can find in your community. But understanding and proactive management by the parents or caregivers has huge benefits that we will talk about as well. Basic steps that we need to implement depend upon each child's unique sensory sensitivities and profile. Sensory charting, which is based on what the child likes or avoids regarding their sensory experiences, and then followed by helpful strategies and tool suggestions. And I'll have an example of a daily sensory plan with the starting step for you to create one for your child. Main sensory issues are being overly sensitive or undersensitive to one, more, or all of the senses, namely sounds, sights, smells, taste, texture, body balance and movement, along with inner body signals or interoception. This means that surroundings as well as body stimuli affect this child differently, which results in a state of physical discomfort and anxiety, and affects the child's social interaction, communication, and behavior. Sensory processing deficit means that due to the sensitivities, child has difficulty recognizing or interpreting the sensory information. Again, it can affect one or more senses and results in their inability to comprehend what is being said or shown, causing confusion, learning delays, and low self-esteem. A child with the sensory processing disorder with or without a diagnosis of autism could be hyperactive and be seen walking aimlessly, running, jumping, or spinning. He could be stimming, such as hand flapping, making repetitive noises, or rocking. He could be talking faster and louder or not talking at all, covering his ears or eyes. Child might have difficulty recognizing internal sensations, like recognizing if he's getting hungry, is thirsty, needs to go to the washroom, is having pain. He might refuse or insist on certain foods or clothing items. There could be frequent chewing of non-food items or frequent touching of others, like playing rough. He might just freeze, which is when child has difficulty communicating or responding as his brain shifts resources to deal with the sensory inputs. Or he could go in a fight-flight mode due to escalating, overwhelming emotions with a need to escape the situation. So he could just run out of the room, out of the house, or get violent or aggressive. While we might see this child as someone who's not paying attention, is acting oddly or misbehaving, remember that he could be overwhelmed with sensory overload and feeling physically and emotionally drained. Initially, child stims to maintain a sensory balance and to stay calm, but if the situation continues, then it begins to wear him out, causing exhaustion and burnout. Sometimes these sensory experiences are not just uncomfortable, they are outright painful, resulting in child trying to escape or fight back. After a few of such experiences, child anticipates a reoccurrence, so begins to avoid things and places. It stresses him out, and many on the spectrum develop generalized anxiety disorder. Helpful therapies for a child with sensory issues include having an occupational therapist to help better process sensory inputs in everyday environments, a speech therapist who could just practice activities with the child to improve speech, swallowing, and related muscle movements. A physiotherapy for building fine and gross motor through play and exercises. Feeding therapists can address aversions to taste and food textures, as well as under and oversensitivities that can hamper chewing and swallowing. A behavior therapist and interventionist can help manage anxiety and gradually increase tolerance to overwhelming sensory experiences. While setting a balanced early intervention plan with the help of one or more professionals for better prognosis is highly recommended, it can be managed better when parents understand their child's sensory issues, as they can then make the required accommodations for the child at home and feel confident about advocating for their child's specific needs to others, including the involved professionals. So there are 8 senses, not just 5, as we all learned growing up. We'll go over sensory charts for each one of these to check what the child avoids, seeks, or has a mixed reaction to. This will tell us if the child is hyper or hyposensitive to the sense, and an overall picture of what to avoid and what to encourage and have more of, to help the child feel safe, calm, and engaged at home and other places. Let's explore each one of these senses to understand how they are differently perceived and affect individuals on the autism spectrum. So auditory, or the listening sense, children on the spectrum usually don't like to be in a noisy setting, like a busy mall or being at a party. They react to loud sounds like thunderstorms, sirens, horns, doorbells. Background sounds can interfere with their focus to task, like sounds of appliances, traffic, birds chirping, wind or rain, and other such sounds can feel magnified to the child who's unable to tune these out, like we can, which leads to inattentiveness. You can tell that by noticing if he responds to verbal instructions or just being called. Is he able to answer some simple questions? Can he carry back and forth conversation? What's the volume of television like when he's watching a show? Does he like to sing along with other kids or avoids it? So you can take screenshots of these charts and fill up the columns to create a sensory profile for your child or client. Try controlling and reducing noise at home and create a quiet room or spot for the child where he could go for self-regulation. Help him avoid places where he feels overwhelmed. Get him a sound canceling headphone and introduce use of white noise. Many kids on the spectrum like the consistent sound of a running fan in the room, as it masks other background sounds. Introduce pleasing sounds and set time for listening to instrumental music or sing along children's songs of his choice. Use visual structures as means of information sharing about his day and activities, as he might be missing that information when you were verbally communicating with him. And use of sound desensitization and auditory discrimination games that I will just talk about here. So auditory discrimination is knowing what sound is made by different things at home or in the environment, or instruments and animals. There are a number of noun and sound board games and apps available that could be used. You can also create your own by taking pictures of things around your house, along with family members. You can take a picture of a doorbell, vacuum cleaner, washer, dryer, blender. Think of other things that the child might not like, or he just spaces out, he doesn't share with you, but you can tell that he tries to leave that area. You can record sounds of family members just saying hi, and it could be a fun game, like you play the sound and let's see who can point to the picture or puts a token on the picture of that person or thing. If you notice tense expressions on your child's face with certain sounds, try desensitization, where we work with just one sound at a time and play it just for a couple of seconds and pair it with encouragement and positive reinforcement and breathing. Let the child play and stop so he can feel in control. He can turn the volume all the way down, turn it up for just a fraction of a second. Let him control it and just go with the flow. And always encourage, even if he tries just for a little bit. White noise or sound masking is, like I explained, using a fan in the background, but there are apps that have so many noises. There's gray noise, there's pink noise, and everyone has their own preference. Try looking for apps that have a light version, and you can check it out for free for a few days. See if it's going to work for you before you make the purchase. So this is the visual chart. To check visual sensitivities, child may be sensitive to, or he could be fascinated by certain lights or colors. Usually we see that they're sensitive to bright lights, flashing lights, along with sunlight. Check off if he likes or avoids dim lights, spinning toys, objects. What is he like with screen time? Does he spend too much time? Where would he usually sit? Would he sit too close? Is there something specific that he's more focused on? And then he just rewinds and watches that over and over. If he likes spinning, twirling, or rotating objects, can he find objects like a book on a shelf and likes doing puzzles or finding differences or making or a maze? How is his eye-hand coordination? Does he find stringing beads, writing, or tying laces challenging? So again, we'll help him by avoiding what he's sensitive to, by encouraging use of sunglasses or wearing a cap when he goes out. We can also get him certain toys that are visually pleasing, like use of lava lamp and spinners. Blowing and popping bubbles is good for eye-hand coordination, and use different visual structures and boards so he knows what's going on with his days and activities. And use of mirror activities and flashlight games that can be used for teaching some important concepts while having fun. So looking at mirror provides self-recognition to quite a few kids actually. Teach child to point to self, name self. You can also direct him to point to you and say mama. Child can practice pointing and labeling body parts, making faces, showing different emotions, and While you label it by saying happy, that's a happy face, that's a sad one, oh, you look angry. So create images in the dark room with a flashlight. The child might like to run and follow the light, or you can play name the object by focusing light on one thing at a time, and sort of say something else, make a mistake so the child corrects you, and maybe that helps him engage more. All of these activities help in establishing eye-hand coordination. It's important to remember that touch involves entire body, not just hands. We can sense textures, temperature, and pain by skin on our body. So many things can feel discomfortable or even painful to the children and individual on the spectrum. So many on the spectrum do not like being touched or hugged. They feel discomfort while washing hands, face, taking shower, brushing teeth. They have difficulty getting haircuts, a nail trim, and they could be very peculiar about getting new clothes and shoes, as they're bothered by the crispiness and the tags. They might be hesitant to get stuff on their hands like sand or Play-Doh. Some can't walk bare feet, and others feel discomfort with socks on. And then there could be excessive mouthing, which is more to check the texture, as the palms and the soles are very sensitive. So some of ideas for you are removing tags and allowing the child to wear clothes that he's more comfortable in. Let him choose. It's okay to have favorite clothes. Wash new ones before letting him put those on. Use of electric toothbrush and a vibrating head brush for combing. Choices for washcloth for face wash and bath times. Knowing different ways you can provide deep pressure, as it's calming in a great way to self-regulate when the child's feeling overwhelmed. Again, we try to get him to desensitize from some of the textures and introduce different textures for touch, like a box of materials available for exploration with lots of encouragement and reinforcements. Here are some deep pressure, calming and fun activities that you can implement and make accessible for use of your child as needed. Kids love getting a couch cushion squishes, or also known as couch cushion sandwich, use of bean bags, body pillows, swaddling or sausage roll in a blanket, use of sleeping bag as it's confined. Some kids like having a sleeping bag on their bed, and so, give it a try. Use of pressure vests, hugs and cuddles if the child would let you. Massage, brushing, and use of therapy ball. Also, swimming or water play in bathtub provides deep pressure. Now we come to taste and smell. So questions about if your child likes to try new foods, how does he do if it's a mixed meal, like soup or stir fry? Does he prefer and most of the kids do, even if they're not on the spectrum, something like drumstick and fries, which are more like finger foods and, separately visible to the eye. Some kids like strongly flavored foods, whether it's spicy, sweet, or sour, and they gag on bland food. Certain textures, do the like crispy over mushy? Does he take vegetables and fruits? Would he try cooked one, or raw is probably a better or a preferred way? How does he deal with strong smells? Gasoline, bleach, perfume. Does he avoid, or he likes strong smells? Does he like to smell food before taking a bite, and likes to smell everything? So again, answering these questions will let you know if he's hypersensitive or hyposensitive, and then the strategy is to slowly get him desensitized. So eating involves all the senses. We see the food, we touch it, we smell and taste. Then there's texture and temperature senses as well. So no wonder every child on the spectrum is a picky eater. For the kids who gag and throw up lots, let them have 4 or 5 small meals instead of 3 main ones. Use of a portion platter is helpful, where you can use the smallest portion for what everyone is eating, and he can just try one bite before having something specific that he wants every day. You can also have cut up veggies and fruits in one of those portions. Some kids, actually quite a few, can't stomach meat. And so, there's this worry if he's going to be deficient in iron. Use well-blended legume soups to see if he would take that as a source of protein. White meat with flavoring spices is usually well liked. For crispiness, try baking, grilling, or air fried instead of cooking it. The use of vegetables and beef broths for cooking pasta and rice, he takes that. Avoid too many sweets. Use dry cereal and raisins as snacks and reinforcements during tasks, and encouraged flavored water, frozen smoothies. So it usually takes a time, but if our request is a small one, like just taking one sip or one bite, and then it's his choice to have more or not, and then eat with what he wants to for now, you'll see that he will lose his anxiety. He'll start sitting with rest of the family members for supper, and his choices will expand with time. So now we come to proprioceptive, or it's about movement and the pressure that's felt in the muscles and joints. So a lot of kids with autism, they like active playing. They like to run around, bounce, jump, and climb. Some of them are high-risk players as well. They like to climb and jump. They have no sense of danger. They just run out. They could be pushing and pulling and bumping into objects and people. They like activities that require force and strength. So sometimes they like visualizing things from different angles and positions, and they can be easily taught how to build toys and snap together games, and then time could be scheduled for high activity, high energy activities of choice around the day. I found these activities work well for the children. And if the time is assigned over the day, it keeps them well seated and learning afterwards. So, or riding a tricycle or a bike, or being on a scooter on tummy and pushing with hands, crawling on the floor or carpet, could be through a tunnel, or could be just, pretending to be a dog chasing a cat, rolling on a gym ball, rolling on the carpet, pushing against the wall with hands and then feet. So simple ones. The list I've made in a way so you can always have some things to do, even if you don't have any special equipment for use at the time. Now, the vestibular sense, which is a sense of balance, you can check the hyper or hyposensitivity by checking off if he likes being rocked or twirled by another person. Does he like being on a swing, slide, teeter-totter? Does he like to climb ladders or going up on a slide, or at home in school, he likes to go upstairs and downstairs? Riding tricycles, steering or use of balance beams, spinning in circles, maybe as a younger kid, and if he likes to go on merry-go-round. And some kids are very hesitant. They don't want to try all these activities, and they are even hesitant to walk on grass or sand, or if the surface is uneven, and they feel dizzy if they have to bend over on sink or in shower while shampooing, and they can get nauseous in a car ride and other rides. So in that case, we just try very cautiously and slowly, and then with time, the child will start enjoying some of these activities. So the vestibular stimulation plays a role in body and spatial awareness, balance, motor skill, and bilateral coordination. Regular and structured daily vestibular input can keep a hyperactive child calm for hours. It can help child stay seated and focused during sessions and at school for table work and activities. And providing the child with enough vestibular input also reduces meltdowns and aggressive behaviors. Now, interoception, which is the eighth sense, it's an internal sensory system in which we notice and recognize our physical and emotional states and take timely action. Interoception skills are required for a range of basic and more advanced functions, such as knowing when to eat, drink, go to the toilet, or being aware that you're becoming anxious or upset. So this people with autism, especially children with a diagnosis, they may not be aware of hunger and thirst until it comes to an extreme point where they can get angry. Toileting awareness and urgency is a big issue. They may not recognize internal pain or change in temperature, and have a hard time telling if they're feeling relaxed or tense, or to cue into the breathing if it's short, like when they get anxious or when they be running around, or or deep breathing when they calm and they're going to sleep. So but these skills can be taught. Development of interoception skills can slow down or even stop for children with autism. Meditation, yoga poses, deep breathing help develop self-awareness and self-regulation. Practice a couple of these animal poses with your child and his siblings as well. So it could be a fun family time where you can let them select which animal pose they want to try out, and just hold it and deep breathe and time to change and do something else. Now, as promised, here's a sensory diet of a 6-year-old on the spectrum, which is based on his sensory profile. In short, this child had occasional meltdowns both at home and at school. He had a hard time waking up in the morning and then leaving his bed. He would be too anxious to have his breakfast and to go to school. Most of his after-school time would be spent watching TV and jumping on the couch. And then he struggled with sleep. So this worked with him pretty good. It took a little while to get him used to it. But the thing is, once the child realizes that it's helping, the activity is helping him feel better, he'll try it. So mom would give him feet and back massages and brushing. Then there was in the morning, then there would be use of white noise, and he liked his vibrating toothbrush and hairbrush. He was okay with having a crunchy cereal, and some days a thick smoothie, a few sips of that. He would then spin or swivel on a chair and then leave for school. School in the morning, he would have too structured, and then he had a choice to ask for more sensory breaks where he could go on a trampoline or ride his tricycle for a few minutes. Then in the afternoon and evening, he was to spend half an hour in the playground where he could choose to go on a swing or on slides. At home, in the evening, he had a trampoline and a gym ball. He liked to spend some time on the sandbox, playing and filling cups and pouring. He would be wearing his noise canceling headphones and listening to music. So dinner time was always challenging for him, and the setting of this routine helped him become calm and be more of a part with the family at that time. So he was guided to set the table. Then he was provided crunchy and chewy food using that partition platter. The family would talk less unless the child initiated. And then he was guided to clear the table using both hands. Then he would have half an hour of TV time and then go to the backyard where they had some play equipment, sandbox, and also use the gym ball and trampoline. Then late evening, he would have a warm bubble bath where he filled cups, poured. He listened to the music at that time. And later there was white noise aromatherapy, and then he used weighted blanket to go to sleep. So as you work on creating your child sensory profile using the scenarios and questions, you might be wondering what you can do today to move in the right direction. Begin with documenting 5 high energy indoor and outdoor activities that your child likes, and you can direct or engage him in when he's fidgety or hyperactive, like use of trampoline, riding a tricycle or bike, and using gym ball or scooter, etc. Also list 5 activities for when he seems spaced out or withdrawn. Consider applying deep pressure, use of weighted blanket, bean bags, or making a cushion sandwich, use of white noise or music, and encourage him to use quiet spot for that you can have some sensory fidgets in there that he could use while he's there. He would be more inclined to try these activities on his own with a visual reminder or a prompt as he feels those calming effects. And this would lead to where he'd be able to manage his arousal levels more independently by taking sensory breaks. So this concludes today's presentation. Do we have any questions, Saad?
Yeah, we got a few here. Our first one is my son's therapist shared a visual board of activities that she had been using to keep him attentive and seated. It doesn't seem to work at home, though. What am I doing wrong?
You're not doing anything wrong. As parents, we're always trying our best for the child. I would begin by making sure that what your boy is looking for, if it's a high energy activity or a quiet one. Just read his body cues. Then begin with his most liked one in that category and engage him by being a part of it. You can also check with the therapist how she communicates with him and what strategies she finds as being most beneficial, and try the same approach. Also, take your child's lead and be flexible.
Our next question is, can you explain how the sensory processing can affect sleep and what could be helpful?
Sleep is complex and many factors affected, including screen time, food sensitivities, anxiety, along with sensory processing. Dysregulated or unbalanced sensory system can result in anxiety leading to insomnia. So you must have felt some of the stuff while I was explaining the sensory diet for this child helpful, because this child had issues with bedtime transition and sleep. These activities were implemented by the parents and seemed to work quite well. So initially after supper, he would spend a couple of hours just watching TV. And it would take mom close to an hour to get him to just get up and brush his teeth. So, some high energy activities in the afternoon, then in the evening, and then slowly transitioning it into, quieter ones like sand play and listening to music or songs. So if the child has had at least an hour of active play over the day, he would be tired, and you'll see that he would be more willing for this transition. And then the deep pressure of the bathtub will help him calm, slower his breathing. So would some white noise, use of white noise and aromatherapy, and use of the weighted blanket. Again, like I mentioned before, some kids find sleeping using the sleeping bag quite beneficial. So use that if you haven't tried it before. Good luck.
My 8 years old son has multiple diagnoses: autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, OCD, and a sensory processing disorder. Do you think that the daily sensory plan that you described would work for him?
Well, about half of the children with the diagnosis of autism also have ADHD, and like I said, all of them have sensory processing disorder. Um, so no worries there. Daily sensory plan or diet is more based on the sensory needs of the child than on the diagnosis. So if you do the charting for your child, uh, of what he likes, what he avoids. This will give you an idea. And then using his liked activities to fill in here as the high activity, low activity, indoor, outdoor will get you the starting steps.
All right. Our last question is, our daughter had a speech delay, and we started noticing sensory issues in her only after the autism diagnosis. Can you explain how, by regulating her sensory system, would help her speech and learning?
Well, we concerned about the delays in the child, whether it's speech or fine or gross motor, along with the odd behaviors of hyperactivity or aloofness. Before approaching the professionals, these delays could be results of ongoing dysregulated state of the sensory system and the resulting processing deficits. When we work on balancing and regulating the sensory system, the child stays calm longer, and it reduces the incidence of outbursts and odd behaviors. This also improves her focus and attention, which would result in better retention of what's being shown and told to her. And of course, that's the base of our learning. So she will start making gains in play, communication, social skills, and academics, along with being more emotionally well balanced. So
That's
you
all
done?
yeah, that's all the questions I have.
Thanks, Ad. Link of the recording will be available on the education page of the website. And if you have any questions about this or the following webinars, please drop me an email. Thanks for joining us today and have a good night.